All right, my name is Jay Worthy. This is Burn the Ship podcast. Our podcast is all about bringing entrepreneurs together, telling us their story, telling us their adventures, telling us why they got into it, and really just hearing that from our guest. So I'm going to let our guest introduce herself and kind of tell us what she does.
Hi, thank you. Well, I'm Christy Renee Stehle. I've got naturally curly hair. I help brands grow and develop what I call magnetic storytelling and presence to stand out in the new era of business and marketing that we're in. So my background's in corporate advertising, and I was able to see the shifts in the market. You know, I don't know, maybe this is a bring it to Monday, what you didn't know meeting.com, but yeah. We've got 2025, we have the new generation, Gen Z, has officially replaced boomers.
Yep.
In the workplace.
In population or workplace?
In the workplace.
Okay.
So even as the business-to-business decision makers, it is now this new generation. Yeah. And so this marks the most dramatic shift in buyer expectations in decades. So how do you adapt to that, right? You've got digital natives, you've got digital marketing that, you know, the competition is higher than it's ever been, visibility's down, engagement's down. What do you do, right? Yep. We are in a new era. So thankfully, you might think that the new generation favors AI and robots are taking over and, you know, our world's going to crap. But actually, authentic connection is a demand of this new generation. And if you don't have a story, an authentic connection, something real to your brand, you won't even get noticed.
So how do we get there? How do we get that authentic connection in 2025? Because that's hard.
It is hard, but it's also really fun and a really great journey. And so as I call myself a storyteller at heart, right? I've always been fascinated with stories. I think we touched on it a little bit, that I've traveled a good bit. I lived over 35 different countries. So the stories, the culture, the connection is really important to me. And I think that every brand, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're an enterprise, you have a story to tell. You've gone through the revenue roller coaster, the emotional roller coaster, because you have a vision for a better way, right? And I think that through operations and all the struggles, we can forget about that story. And people will think that, oh, well, my story just belongs on the about page of a website. No. If you're doing that and you're approaching it that way, you're missing the heart or the essence of your business. So I teach what I call magnetic storytelling, which is getting to the intersection of like your why. Why are you doing this? Then what's the universal why? Why does the world need this? And then through that, you can create this culture almost of connection that gives people a reason to want to follow you, to be a walking billboard, to be a brand advocate, to really support your cause.
Yeah, I feel like the what you said about the about page. It's a fundamental inaccuracy of what people go look at to find who you are, right? So I always say you got to do it all because you never know what somebody's going to look at. So you got to kind of be authentic in each aspect of your social media or your about page, if you will. And I guess you can be a little bit different between the social media aspects from LinkedIn to Instagram to TikTok. But what do you think about that? What do you think about changing your strategy per social media outlet?
Yeah, you know, what you're talking about is what we refer to as tone in the branding world, right? It's a different tone for different applications. So you can still be the same person, but if you're on LinkedIn, it's a more professional tone, and Instagram, maybe it's like, you know, you're chatting with your friends, right? So there's some experts who think that you should be the same throughout wherever you go. For me, I'm a very dynamic person with a lot of expression and a lot of words inside of me and a lot of stories to tell. So I do vary it by platform. But at the end of the day, I think what's important to those listening is to make sure that you have a grounded identity, right? If you have something a brand that has a voice, that has an identity, a personality that your potential consumers can know, like, and trust. We've talked about that for a long time, know, like, and trust. But going a little bit beyond that and being able to connect to it as if it were a person, that's really the most important thing.
So we're differentiate ourselves between our person and our brand or our company, right?
Well, a lot of people do. One and the same? I think that it should be one and the same and to stand out. So with entrepreneurs today, I teach them to be the face and voice of their brand, because if you're just posting text, you know, ChatGPT and Canva really leveled the playing field, right? Content creation, you don't have to necessarily have these graphic design and Photoshop skills that you once had. You don't have to have significant writing skills. Now, ChatGPT, sounds like ChatGPT in most cases, but if you know how to manipulate it and prompt it, you can get a fairly decent sounding post. But to what end?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how much are you standing out? If you're taking something that is taking all of the voices of all the other posts and what everything sounds like to create something, it's not creating something new. It's drawing from what's been out there. So how are you going, what's the point, right? If you're just posting to post, we've heard, post consistently, maybe 10 years, they've been saying that. Okay, we're all posting consistently. Is it resonating?
Well,
is it connecting?
What is the content?
Yeah, I think.
How much content are you going to constantly push out into the world if you have to post multiple times a day? Then
Well,
how
if it's
true does that really
if it's
fall?
poop content, it doesn't matter. So if it's not good content, nobody's going to read it or look at it or listen to it or whatever it's video.
And what
or
makes
link.
good content today?
That's a good question. Trend seeking, fad following, those probably make good content, but you have to be fast and quick with it.
How exhausting.
It is. I mean, we work with with Soup Sandwich all the time, which is our entertainment podcast, and it is a, are you getting shadow banned or you're not, or why is it, there's no true answers really that you can read in a book of why it's doing what it's doing. It's just not there.
Right.
And they change it. They change it because of that. They don't want you to know that.
Exactly. Well, it's a free platform, right? That everybody's using to grow and make money. So what are they really selling? What are they really making a commodity? It's your attention.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
You talking about
20 seconds
the
at a time.
New generation of people coming up, like the Gen Z generation that's here now. So many people have gotten millions of followers and money from TikTok. But that's what you can do now. You can do 15 minutes on there, but originally it was a minute, and you can see the success of some people that can utilize that and then take your 15 minutes of fame and make it into an entire brand, and you can succeed through that versus you have one big hit and then you're off the grid. And Gen Z has done well with doing that.
They have, but then it's also dependent, right? Is TikTok going to be around? It was going to be gone, then it's back. Will it stay? Will it go?
Well, TikTok's a name. There'll always be a TikTok. Call it something else.
Right, but
it would matter.
Vine before that.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
MySpace.
There'll always be. There'll always be at this point in our world. There'll always be some platform, because that's just where we are. It's not going away. Let me ask you a question. So let's get in more specifics because a lot of that was broad. But who are your clients now? I know that I talk to a lot of digital marketers, and I've talked to a lot, and a lot of them have a vertical that they really kind of go after, whether it be the trades or B2B or commercial or retail. So what is your ideal customer that you're dealing with right now?
Yeah, so it's kind of nice that it works out with the alliteration of the 3 E's. It just happened to be this way. Entrepreneurs, family-owned businesses, family enterprises, and event planning. And for me, it's because of the purpose with those, right? There's typically, with events, they want to create a memorable experience, right? Entrepreneurs have a vision for a better way. Family businesses tend to have a legacy of something that has a lot of heart and a lot of essence. So those are the 3 that I really work with, because with my past experience in corporate advertising, I worked with the big billion-dollar companies, and I got amazing experience, but I've never had a less fulfilling job.
So we're talking about family businesses, even more specifically. We're talking about
Mm-hmm.
chiropractors that are family business. Are we talking about a retail store that's been there? Are we talking about a barbecue joint that's been in the family for 50 years? What are we talking about specifically in the family, and then we'll get to the event planners after that.
Yeah, so this is an interesting conversation, right? We used to be taught to niche down and to target a hyper-specific type of person, right? But I say that's very outdated. We don't need to be doing that anymore, and instead we need to look at the emotional drivers of a certain type of business. So I'm not going to be an expert in helping barbecue joints thrive.
Right.
But I will be an expert in magnetic storytelling and helping you stand out in highly competitive markets. So for me, I'm doing work with Kennesaw State University. They have a family enterprise center.
That's right.
Yeah, the Owls. They have a family enterprise center. And so I'm just getting plugged in with them, but we've got a couple events coming up this spring. And the people that are involved in this program tend to have the same problems, right? So they feel like they're in marketing chaos. They may be at the point where they feel like they need to hire a social media manager, but they're doing it just because they're told they're doing it. Maybe they're frustrated with a marketing team they have gone and engaged with, but they're not seeing any return on investment. People are just kind of like throwing things out there and hoping that it sticks. So it's more of a problem that I'm solving than a specific industry.
Right.
If that makes sense.
So they could be going in the right direction, but not pointed in the right direction. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or, you know, another problem that I solve too is companies that are fast growing. So when you're scaling, before you start scaling rapidly, you have a team of, say, leaders, right? Everybody knows what to do. You'll sit down like this, we'll all have a conversation, and we'll leave and go do our job and come back.
Right.
But when you're scaling really quickly, your core group then has people who have people. And communication is the first thing to break down. Think
Telephone
of the game
game.
of telephone. Exactly. Exactly. You think you're having the same conversation.
But you are not.
And what will happen is you'll spend 48 hours on a project, just killing it, crushing it, you'll bring it back, and then they'll be like, this is great, but this isn't what we need. You know, so there's a lot of resource burn, there's a lot of wasted money, there's a lot of frustration that you're hurting your people because they've just poured their heart into something. It's like, we couldn't get our communication together, so that's wrong.
Well, it's also frustrating when you come up with a plan, you feel like you've executed it well, and the results aren't there, right? You didn't get the people that you needed through that avenue. You didn't get the sales that you needed through that avenue, and you feel like you got a great story. So it's how do I get the end result? Because the definition of marketing is to produce a sale. Right? It's to produce a sale. It's the avenue, the car that gets you a close of some sort. It doesn't have to be money, but it's a closure. So how do you combine those two, the journey then the close? How do you get that client to say yes, or that customer to say yes?
Well, think about this. I used to mentor young professionals going into creative industries, and maybe they were not being able to get an interview, or just bombing the interview and feeling really hopeless, maybe just stuck. And I would go in and help them realize that if you are, and this is the same for their sale, if you are not 100% confident that you are the absolute best person for that job, whether you're trying to get a professional job or trying to sell them on your service, how will you ever convince the person on the other side of the table that you're the best fit?
It'd be tough.
You won't.
Yeah.
You won't. And so you can do all the marketing that you want in the world, but unless your energy, and so being a storyteller, I say that your energy tells your story before you ever even open your mouth.
Right.
What's your energy saying about you? And if you're grounded, if you're in alignment, so whether it's going back to your question, whether it's an enterprise or an entrepreneur, there is internal and external communication happening in both situations, right? If you're an entrepreneur, what is the story that you're telling yourself? Does that match what you're telling the world? Most of the time it doesn't. But if it's not, you're scattered. You're sending out different messages, and you're not in this alignment that is a strong magnetic force, really. When you are that grounded and authentic and aligned in your communication, that goes a long way.
Sure. Let's go back to the other thing you said, the event planning part of it. So are you saying that you help event planners, or that you plan the events yourself with these people?
So as a professional speaker, I would help the event planners, right? And so I can engage with them, and this is a slightly newer venture, but I am in the works for being a speaker at the Spring Summit for a local organization of meeting planners. So I'm very excited about that. And the premise there is that, first, something that I always teach is make sure you listen, right? We always like to be talking, we like to be selling, but when you listen and you hear their problems, that's a great way you can close the sale.
Sure.
So all last year, I heard the same thing. As event planners in 2024, 2025, expectations are higher than ever for the audience. Attendees want a bigger, better, more robust experience, but budgets are way tighter.
Yeah.
Inflation's up, budgets are down, you have fewer people doing more tasks. How are you going to do it? When you create a culture that's around a story, you get, like, I'm sure you know, user-generated content. That is the best kind of content that you can have. When people are walking around just posting organically, it's a brand advocate. And I call them walking billboards. So this is a great, really resourceful growth strategy to do more with less. When you go back to the drawing board, say, okay, forget maybe all these fancy things. You know, here's a great example. One of my close friends and colleagues is an event designer. And she told me a story about how story and words matter. And what happens in a lot of businesses or events is that people work individually in silos. So they're all working, it's kind of like the telephone game. They're all working on their thing. And as an event designer, she planned this beautiful food-related, 5-course kind of thing where all the food and beverage that was sitting on tables throughout the Natural History Museum related to the artwork. Total success. However, marketing used the word dinner. So the guests were absolutely outraged that they did not have a sit-down, plated meal, and the event was a flop.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's like a bait and switch, right? So was there finger foods, or they expected a plated dinner?
They expected a plated dinner with cutlery. It didn't matter that the food itself was actually very high quality and amazing. Picture those like cute little clear plastic, little tea, one of those.
Go,
yeah, you walk around and it's like a really fancy little, but not that, like a really it's like a little bite of food, but it's even like plated nicely and garnished, and it's just like those little bite-sized things
Tapas.
that people could,
appetizers.
Yeah. It was delicious
cucumber
food.
sandwiches
Had they,
with a
had
toothpick
they
in 'em.
taken it out of the you can walk around and put it on a plate, everyone would have been happy.
Interesting.
The food was not the issue. It was the expectation
It's the
that had been
mindset.
set through the communication of the event.
It's crazy how small of something that right there would make something successful or not successful.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So it's really, and that goes back to see how we're talking about different scenarios, entrepreneur, what they're telling themselves, event planners, what they're telling, but it's really this disparate communication.
Sure.
It's just not unified. And the bigger you grow, or the more we're through technology or whatever the case may be, you find that happening way more often than you would think.
Right. So, who are you looking for in new clients? How can our people help you? And hey, this is the person that you want. Tell me specifically.
Well, an entrepreneur that has been struggling to stand out, but is really dedicated to something of impact, right? I think that today most entrepreneurs that I meet do have this purpose-driven, kind of impact-driven, and they have that feeling inside of them that's like confronting when I say you need to be the face and voice of your brand. They're like, yeah. And then they go to do it, and they will have every distraction in the world that prevents them from wanting to go live or from putting themselves out there in a networking event and standing up and taking the stage and commanding that, right? And I believe this is the story for me, and it's the case for many professional speakers that I know. Our greatest passion in life lies behind our biggest fear. And public speaking was my biggest fear. Even just speaking up, was my biggest fear. And so I find that a lot of entrepreneurs are in that same boat. They will do anything to avoid being on camera.
Sure.
When that's what's going to
that's different.
That is going to be the cheapest, fastest, best growth strategy to get over yourself and learn how to be an eloquent speaker or command attention, speak from your diaphragm instead of your your throat. You know, there's all these little vocal
practice. It's
variety
everything's practice. You have to practice. And I tell people, because we created this podcast in a necessity to get business during COVID, and it's turned into kind of a whole different business. You know, where I'm going when I'm out here pitching Lake Point Productions for commercials and things. I was like, do you know 15, even 20 years ago, probably even 10 years ago, that to get a commercial made, it would have cost you $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. We can do it for $1,000 now. We can do it for $2,000, and really good quality stuff that I've seen commercials on on Comcast between the local type HVAC commercials that I'm like, that is so bad for Comcast to even put that out, because they're the one that's doing it.
Yeah.
It's their team. So I'm like, you feel like it would be more high quality, but we can do that quality of commercial, and it's cheap. We can get on you can get on podcasts for free, and it helps you train. Like you said, speaking from your diaphragm, speaking with passion, and really at the end of the day, it's all about confidence. And as you're building that confidence, like you already said, people want to work with you. People do like you. They know you. They trust you. They feel like they do. Anyways,
feel it.
no matter if it's true or not, they feel like they do. So, well, it's great to speak with you today. Tell us how to get a hold of you. Your business name, your email, all that kind of stuff for the listeners.
Yeah, and I do want to share as well, there is a free event at Oglethorpe University for entrepreneurs on 2 of them actually coming up on February 10th. There's the one announcing what's to come. It's a new development center. And on February 26th, I will be leading a free session, Magnetic Storytelling for Brand Growth. So if anybody's listening, they can come out to that. That'd be great.
Is that Oglethorpe as well?
Oglethorpe University,
okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I have I made sure to get the link this morning so we could put it in the show notes, I hope, so people can register. Hopefully we can do the same with my email and my website,
Branson,
but it is ChristyRenee.com, and you can find me, email, LinkedIn, Instagram, it's all from my website.
Awesome podcast. I appreciate you coming in. We'll do it again. We'll do it in a year, see where you are.
Yeah.
And, hopefully we can, you can come to our SIP event, which is February what? 11th, and you can kind of you judge the hell out of us.
Okay, I will. I like it. I'm already inviting people to the set too. I got you to register yesterday.
I love.
I need to.
I love getting judged because it only makes you better. You know what I mean? But especially if you're going to tell me, I want you to tell me. So that Gordon Ramsay says that comment cards, if they say something good, he just throws them away. Like those don't help you.
He doesn't need the praise.
No, it doesn't help. It's not a praise. Those don't help get you better. They don't help. The bad ones are the ones like, all right, well, we can fix that, and yeah, we should have done that. So I want the bad stuff. I want you to tell me how it's bad, and then we can make it better, right?
Well, hey, challenge accepted.
Absolutely. Just don't say it on stage. Tell me.
Let me grab a mic.
Tell me
Let's
later.
Go.
Hey, Roger, you sucked on this. You didn't do this and this. Yeah, just tell me.
You told
later.
me there would be dinner, and I've got finger food. I'm mad.
Later. No, there's dinner. You just got to order it, and that is absolutely on the brochure. But no, we appreciate your time and thank you for coming out.
This was nice. Thank you.
Absolutely. Burn the ship. Everybody be kind to each other out there.